Welcome back to Just a Cup on the Believe Network, where we talk performance, mindset, and the bold moves shaping the future of sports. I'm your host, Bryan Fetzer, and today's guest is flipping the tennis world on its head in the best possible way. We're joined by Charles Allen, the visionary behind INTENNSE Tennis and the brand new INTENNSE Arena League, a revolutionary team tennis format built for speed, strategy, and for spectators. Think Formula One energy meets racket warfare. With the background in high-level sports and a passion for innovation, Charles isn't just talking about change; he's actually creating it, which makes me exciting. Makes me excited, and his mission to make tennis more thrilling for players and fans. Trust me, this episode is going to serve some aces. No pun really intended. But I'm excited, Charles, to get a chance to talk to you. I've been kind of enthralled, since first hearing about the league, because I'm always about change. I'm always about, hey, how are people doing something different? So I'm excited to dive in and kind of find more about the league and let others know more as well.
Well, I'll say right off the bat, two things. One, an ace is a two-pointer. So you get a clean winner, you get 2 points. And that also is, we're actually simple points. We're making points. I have a Substack that I call Point Production, not just because you're producing points on the court, but we want to produce some good points about what's happening in the world of sport and in our sport. And the second thing I want to clarify is that I'm not the visionary. I'm in this position. It's just serendipity that this whole team came together. I'm not exactly sure how it all happened, apart from the passion of a lot of great people who have great intentions. This is intense. So we do a lot of playing on words. We have good intentions. If you look at what we've achieved with the production in our arena, I think about it, and even the person who designed the trusses is proud of their part, in contributing. Everyone has contributed ideas to this. There's not one single idea that makes this thing click. It really is the teamwork, the collaboration amongst a lot of individuals toward a vision of creating a healthier sport. There's dysfunction everywhere, and there's a lot of dysfunction in tennis. It just is what it is. And I often describe there have been many problem spaces that are identified over many years. And I think this is really the first time that a holistic approach has been taken. So this comes out of conversation over many years between many people and distilling down to, what are the way we put this puzzle together so that things really click and we can build some momentum toward a positive future. So we can drill down into more of that. But
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, when you look at tennis, an individual sport, very much so steeped in tradition, with Wimbledon and, all the major tournaments around. What made you and the group look at it and say, hey, let's blow this up and rebuild the game as a team experience as opposed to that just individual one player aspect or doubles per se?
Well, there's a lot of innovation happening in sports, in a lot of sports. And so it really is just happenstance that we're emerging at this moment when sport is becoming such an interesting investment class. And I mean, we didn't plan it this way. But a lot of people are thinking about innovating. I'd say that, the primary inspiration for me being part of these conversations come from witnessing my own children, entering the sport. And I think that the onboarding of families into the sport leaves, something to be desired in terms of understanding what we're getting into. I think that the pressures of an individual sport for families, you have different cost structures in different countries. Different countries do a better or worse job in terms of supporting players. But, they always look at, producing X% of the top players in the world. But they're not really looking at below that percent, the much, much greater percent of, let's say, not so productive outcomes for many, many families. And people always talk about how sport can provide so much to someone in their business career, all the things that you can learn. Well, the stories that are told are the people who are successful and can apply those things they learn from sport. But again, that applies to maybe 15 to 20% max of people. A lot of people who pass through, and in this sport, I've had people who've been at this for 5 or more decades, agree with me on this point. You are creating people who are conditioned when you try to be on the pro tour to be very selfish, because you have to survive. You have to think about yourself. You're traveling as an individual. You don't have a real meaningful support network. And if you don't make a living, if you spend years, sometimes up to a decade, spending other people's money, not making a living and being a pro, if you can't transition from that individually focused reality to working together with other people on a team, those skills, those survival skills, if you then get put into a position where now I'm a coach that has nothing to fall back on, I have to sell myself constantly to people, right? I have this perverse incentive to oversell myself constantly just for stability. You're effectively recycling dysfunction, right? So this, looking at that whole trajectory, we wanted to create better health. I mean, you look at what's happening on the tour today, where they're having to provide mental health support all the time. And even Gordon Ivanisevic was just quoted as saying, everyone he knows is taking meds for depression. I mean, are we really going to celebrate the things that sport can do for that very small percentage of people who can get their success stories out there, when you have the vast majority? I mean, the numbers of people who try to participate in a sport, and you pump up those numbers with people who try, but do they stick with it? Is it lifelong? For me, and I've said this many times, my grandfather played tennis into his 90s. It was part of his life. He was part of his community. It was part of his ministry, the way he showed up in his community. That is where my love of this sport came from. And my vision is to have a healthy ecosystem that will promote engagement with a sport that is good for your health and good for your relationships from the beginning. When you onboard into the sport, at whatever stage you onboard, there's a family, right? However you choose to define family in these days, but let's just take people on board in the youth programs. You've got a family that is financing it for the vast majority, and they're getting into very often toxic relationships with other families because of the stakes, the pressure, the stress. Right? When you go to college tennis, people talk about the wonderful stories of college tennis. It's not always the case. There are a lot of people who don't play after college, who burn out, who make poor decisions about their education based on what they think is the thing they need to achieve in tennis, right? And then you leave that part of the ecosystem and go on a pro tour, which is functionally abusive in many ways. A lot of good intentioned people, a lot of great people. Not to ding people. It's a system. It's a systemic problem, right? And so, how do you intervene in the system in a constructive way? And so, I mean, I'm going to start saying this more and more. My focus is family first. I'm actually a bit tired of people saying fan first, fan first, fan first. Family first. Family supporting the player in college. You've got the family, however you define it, supporting the player in the tour. And there are attempts to give more money to these players. Okay, I'm gonna get you more money by giving you more prize money opportunities. Is that really going to help the loneliness? Is it really going to help the depression? Is it really going to help? And you also see good-hearted people who want to support the struggling pro by giving them a free place to live. I'm supporting a pro player. Well, you're actually enabling the dysfunction of the system and the abuse of the system. I know from personal experience, if you enable something that is not working fundamentally, no matter your good intentions, you're not actually helping in the long term.
No, I mean, I love the passion about that because it's kind of changing the next generation of tennis players, both mentally and physically. Really, it's kind of the things you're kind of talking about.
Yeah, there's a big mental shift here. There's many dimensions to talk about that, but our format is so intense. We have 14-second serve clock. You play at the server pace. You have no time to get lost in your thoughts about what happened in the last point.
Right.
It's electronic line calling, no video review, move on to the next point, and you better do that quickly. And so it does change how people behave on court. It really does. But you also, when you're in the team environment, you may have to jump. You never know when you're going to be called to jump in or be pulled off. So the dynamics are very different. But yes, we want people to come into the sport. If you come into the pro sport through a college draft, we want them to come in, have a salary, have coaching, have benefits. And because in college, you're still pursuing your studies while you're playing in the team. This is a team environment where your profession in the team environment is supported. And you're also supported in understanding the dynamics of the league that is a business. Because we see our players as being co-creators with us. We focus on letting them have their personalities, which traditional tennis doesn't really do or doesn't do effectively, right? So we're helping them to build their stories, their journey. And if they go then onto other tours, that's great. We also see, if you look at the events we've had so far, we've had quite a number of ATP and WTA professionals come in through our challenge teams and play this format. So we think we can have effects in many directions.
I love it. So there's the old school mindset in tennis that says, change is risky. I think it's a lot of old school mindset in a lot of sports. What's been the biggest resistance you guys have faced kind of launching the new league, and how you've kind of learned from that challenge? Like, because I know anytime you do something that's different, there's pushback, but then hopefully there's, eyes open saying, hey, this is good.
The pushback started in my own family. My kids at first are traditionalists,
There you go.
And we actually had to get to the point where we had an environment in which they could actually play it, where, they could then start to experience the thrill and see the benefits and observe the dynamics around them. I mean, I have one of a colleague I've worked with for 7-8 years now who, was skeptical, who's a college tennis coach. And when he saw it come together, it was like, now you've convinced me. But it took years until we actually brought the vision to life. I think that we have been making adjustments constantly. You have to be in an environment where you can make adjustments. This is not a typical venture. Everyone on this team will say this is unlike anything they've ever experienced. We've done this in just over 8 months. I mean, years of conversation, but when you get to actual execution, when you have to actually start spending somebody else's money to make something real, we've had many different iterations of how we could bring it to life. And ultimately to build an arena on a soundstage in a movie set.
Right.
We didn't see that coming, really. But the venues, the amount of time it takes to get the venues you want to be in is longer than a year.
We're going to take a quick break. I want to come back to that because I think that is so unique, and I kind of want to touch base on that and give that the arena a little more to do. You are listening to Just a Cup on Believe. I'm host Bryan Fetzer. Today I have with me Charles Allen, who is the face, the head behind Intense Professional Tennis League. and we're getting ready to kind of dive into the arena. And you just briefly mentioned it is built on a movie set.
Yeah, it was. We were stage 3 at Electric Owl Studios. And again, I'm a face and I'm a mind. I'm
Right.
not the face or the mind, right?
Sorry for saying that, right?
Right?
No, I mean, so how did you get to that being where it was going to be located?
Well, so we have a real desire to connect with communities. And so we have teams that are based in Tampa, Jacksonville, and Atlanta. And they train there. And the goal was initially in this initial season, to have this home versus away dynamic. And we did a preseason where we had events in all cities. But when it came to putting together the right production quality, we always wanted to be indoors because we're time boxed. You start on time, you end on time. We don't want weather delays. Jacksonville and Tampa are not that easy to find the types of facilities that you can be indoors. All right. So we did have some of the preseason events that had weather challenges. And for the amount that we were going to, from our little pot that we had to get started with, when you go to put on this type of show, you don't want to have a weather issue. And so we looked at how to model the type of environment we wanted for our fans, and to make that portable, and to not be able to find in the short time frame we had something that would give us the cover, literally, to be immune to the elements. We had to find an indoor space. Several that we found had some structural problems, some access problems, and it just so happens there's a downturn in the market, and there's many beautiful spaces that were available in the Atlanta area, which are overbuilt temporarily. And so, we started to take a tour, and we found a wonderful relationship with the people at Electric Owl. And so I'd have to say serendipity has been very, very good to us.
Hey, and it usually is. Visions and change, sometimes they come from places you don't expect.
Yes.
Pretty awesome. When you're building the league and a brand, because you're really doing that, what role does content, media, storytelling kind of play into the whole intense competition?
Well, so storytelling, personality is really core. It's really central. We are not based on the top tier known talent. We're not bringing in known players. I mean, they may be known within their university communities. They may be known within, but there's this deep talent pool, and people need to feel a sense of connection, right? And so we have invested. If you look at our, we have a YouTube channel with profiles of the players. But we're continuing to refine our understanding of how to help our players build, their personal brand, within and we've been very, very lean. So while that's really central to how we will build our platform, the amount of time that we've done, the amount that we've done, obviously we haven't been able to push the pedal to the metal as much as we would like, but we've got the bones. We've built the bones. We've shown what we can do. We've shown the quality with which we can deliver, and we've shown some pretty compelling and interesting stories and personalities that I believe will catch fire. We also have this ability with the challenge teams, where we have celebrity or guest coaches who can come in. And for instance, for the Georgia audience, we have Manny Diaz coming in as a guest coach, and he just retired as the head coach at University of Georgia after a storied career. And that actually helps us as well. But we want our players, we want to be helping them build their brand and not relying on someone else's brand to build ours.
That's awesome. We touched base a little bit before we started recording. I had heard the phrase Formula One of tennis kind of as a description of Intense, and you kind of expounded on a little bit to clarify that. But what does that look like, and how is it? How is Intense different than somebody that's watching Wimbledon or just watched Wimbledon?
Right. So we can answer this and also focus on the arena, which we haven't quite focused on yet.
True.
So, our events are called surges. We call it a surge, and the idea is that we are surging together all the energy into one court. So we have an arena that is one court. And so not only are we surging the fan energy onto one court, whereas in traditional tennis events, you have many, many courts and you don't get to one court until the final. We're always on that one court. But we're also surging together many different levels of play within the ecosystem. And surging all those things into one place in one court means we can focus more technology for all those levels of play. So each of our surge events is a double header for one host team, which plays two other host teams. That's a Saturday and Sunday where you have these league events. But our surges start on Thursday with what's called a challenge series, an open entry prize money event where existing ATP, WTA, ITF, high performance juniors, they can all sign up and they can compete in a group phase to make it to a playoff phase. And on Friday morning, you have the top 3 men, top 3 women. They form a challenge teams that plays an exhibition event on the Saturday before the Pro League match against one of the Pro League teams with, as I mentioned, a celebrity coach. So now you've got this open entry, high performance players coming from wherever they come from, getting on the same stage, using the same technology, the same ELC, the same production broadcast quality. So it's open to anyone. We had some really high level WTA players who came into the arena on a challenge team, and they had never before played with ELC. They're pros, but they'd never been with this. And that same level of technology is the high performance high school players who are coming in. We had a guy fly in from Japan who's a very, very highly rated kid. He got off the plane, and the next day he was on the court playing with the likes of Tyler Stice, who played one at Auburn. And so you've got that. And then at the same time, when you have these city-based teams, we had Atlanta playing Jacksonville on a Sunday afternoon. That morning, we had Atlanta juniors and Jacksonville juniors in teams playing on the same court where their home teams were playing. And so you're building that connective tissue. You're bringing together all these different levels of play on the same court with the same technology, with the same production. That's the surge. So the Formula One reference came from, you've got this team play. In Formula One, before you have the big race day, you have the sprint race or the qualifying race. What we do is we have something called the Pro Trials. And so before your first league match, you have one-on-one trials. So all the team players who in the league matches are playing in a team where you have substitutions and live coaching, they're actually playing one-on-one against the opposing team. So you've got 3 men playing three men. That's 9 matches. You have 3 women playing 3 women. That's 9 matches. So we have 18 matches that happen on Friday evenings. And that is we go back to storytelling. That actually helps you build your narrative because you have all of these personalities facing off and you have information this week about how all of these players are doing before they go into the match against each other in the team scenario. And so now you're looking, what is the coach going to do? Who's going to sub who in? How did this person do against this other person? So you're building this narrative structure.
I mean, that's such a phenomenal concept. I mean, I love the subbing in part because I think it's very basketball-ish in a way. For somebody that's not familiar necessarily, but basketball, they sub in and out all the time.
Yep.
No one complains about it.
Yeah.
It keeps the pace up because people are fresh, right?
Well, and I mean, so intense is so intense for players that you play. We call our segments bolts. So each match is 3 bolts, 3 10-minute segments of play. In those segments of play, in 10 minutes, we generate regularly 50 points. So in 30 minutes of play, we generate as many or more points than most professional tennis matches. So the pace is so intense that you need substitutions to maintain the level of play. Usually, we had one event so far where there was one player who played 3 bolts in a row, and the other team was subbing and trying to figure out how to break this player. And the other team actually did win 2 out of the 3 bolts, but this one player who stayed in the 3rd bolt, he actually won by quite a margin. It was quite incredible because everyone was like, this is an Ironman. How did he pull this off? So I mean, the dynamics are very interesting because I mean, there are players who really can't handle the pace. They can play at a high level for a shorter period of time. You put them in there in a scenario where you need their particular capabilities, and then they're gassed and they're out. One thing, so the arena is unique because it leans the crowd in over the court. Actually, we have cantilevered decks that come in, and they're cantilevered 2 feet over the court. So you get a perspective. In fact, you've mentioned Wimbledon. There's only one court at Wimbledon that has anything, one court in the world that has anything like this is the one court at Wimbledon that has a bar kind of overlooking. This is actually cantilevered over, so it's closer to the court. And the only way people have ever gotten this view before of tennis is drone footage, like the spider cam. So it's really unique how close you can get. We have people in the end zones, we call them, who have nothing but some fabric net between them and the action. And it really, I had I think the best time I've ever had at any event in my life, at our last 2 weekends ago. And I was sitting there in the end zone, just marveling, at the level of play and the level of excitement that you could feel all around. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's very obvious to feel your energy and to feel your passion for it, which is exciting because it starts somewhere. There's got to be somebody that's passionate about it and be able to convey it.
I'm not the only one.
And I know you keep saying that it's always a group effort, but I'm just talking with you now. So, but I sit and think, if you fast forward 5 years, what's kind of the dream headline that you would want to what Intense Tennis would be?
So let's more than double the number of professional athletes who can make a living from tennis. Right? Wow. Let's more than double it.
Yeah.
But not only that, the Intense Alliance is working with college programs, working with academies, creating a meaningful pipeline, meaningful connective tissue between different levels of play. And I mean, look, college tennis is not a great broadcast product. And college tennis is very challenged by what's happened recently with NIL.
Oh, absolutely.
So things are going to change. The question is, how are they going to change? Is it going to be the type of change where you just try to monetize the streams because of all the betting revenue? Or are you going to make something that is actually more engaging for people that want to watch a sport that is thrilling to watch? There have been some great innovations in terms of like a red zone approach to trying to keep track of what's happening on all 6 courts at once. But again, what is the audience for that actually can meaningfully understand and have relationships with all of those players?
True. Very true.
I mean, I have a son playing D1 tennis, and it's hard for me to keep track of what's going on live, when I'm present there. It's thrilling when you get down to the final clinch match. But it takes a while to get there, and it doesn't happen. So it's amazing to me that you don't have, unless you're in the very biggest schools, you don't have large in-person audiences. I think that even at the junior level, the high school tennis level, that we can show the world that this form of the sport can bring junior tennis, high school tennis much closer to basketball and football. And I mean, it's a huge gap. It's a huge gap. It's a huge gap. We're never going to be there in terms of basketball and football. But when we did our very first event in Atlanta, we had 18 kids and 3 coaches on one court. And those 3 teams, so 6 and 6 and 6, those 3 teams basically played a round robin on that same court. It was 4.5 hours. It was a show court in a club on a Sunday afternoon. And as people in the club walked by, they were like, what's this? And they stopped and they stayed and they watched. And it was thrilling. It was thrilling to see how the juniors they're liberated to show their personality. You can trash talk as long as you stay within bounds, right? You can trash talk. The coaches can trash talk. The crowd can act like a crowd, like a sports crowd, like sports fans. So one goal, anyone who watches tennis needs to learn to be a sports fan, because current tennis doesn't have sports fans for the most part. You've got tennis fans. They're a different creature. So one of our goals would be to teach tennis fans how to be sports fans, right?
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I think of the tennis I watch. One of my close friends is the head coach at Arizona State, and over the years got a chance to talk to Matt about tennis a lot. And how do you get more fan engagement? How do you make things more exciting? And so I completely understand that.
So when are you going to come see the arena? Just a challenge, you put you on the spot.
Oh, hey, I'm full into that, because I'm excited to get an opportunity. Is there going to be is there for year 2, season 2?
Yeah. So right now we have one hub. We've got one hub with 3 teams, and the challenge team can be considered a 4th team. But year 2, we're going to 8 to 10 teams, 2 hubs. And so that means that, we'll need to draft because we have some existing players that are full-time, but we'll need to draft 50 players or more. And one of the things that's really interesting about that is that there is a shortage of female players. You look at the number of players, because there's a different dynamic with female players. They typically go pro younger,
really,
right?
Yeah.
And so you don't have as many, coming through a college pipeline, but there are plenty of women playing college tennis. So we really need to focus on the college draft just so we can maintain the gender balance. Our teams are 3 men, 3 women, right? So that's why the draft is important to us. And we are open to having players, and we've already proven that we have WTA and ATP players who want to, to try our version of the sport. Believe it or not, there's some people that want to have a quality of life and actually live somewhere and belong somewhere.
Shocking, right? Shocking.
And that does bring me to a really key word for us is belonging. We want people who come to our arena who to feel like they're really participants, like they really belong there. That they can show up.
No, man, that's awesome. Is there? Have you selected one of the new hubs yet, or is that still in the working process?
It's in the process. We have a number of contenders.
That's good. That's good. Need to have lots of contenders. There needs to be in for all of it.
Well, so as I said, we really have not done a large amount of marketing. We want there to be a good component of organic growth here. We did. If you look, we took $4 million, and if you look at a lot of other sports leagues, you're talking, sometimes excess of $100 million. I think that what we have achieved is, if not unprecedented, pretty rare.
I would say so. I would definitely say so.
So I think there's a lot of headroom for the marketing to spread the story, but we really want people to to find it and connect with it.
I love it. It's great. Innovation is what we need in sport, and the belonging and the family and the balance are words that you said that strike huge chord with me. So I can completely appreciate that as a former coach more than maybe some. But Charles, thanks for jumping on and sharing about tennis. I'm looking forward to getting to Atlanta and hopefully in the next couple of weeks and watching, the competition, because I would be excited to watch it. I enjoy watching tennis.
I promise you an intense experience.
But it'd be a lot more intense than probably what I'm used to, for sure. Thanks so much. And we'll put where you can get a hold of Intense. We've already shown some of the Instagram leads on the feed below. Charles, thanks again so much for joining us on Just a Cup, and wish the absolute best on a very innovative and intense tennis league.
It's been a great pleasure, Brian. Thanks so much.